So thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today. Our Talent Toolbox series. We're going to be focusing on the Design and Creative Upwork Skill Certification. Now, about 2 weeks ago, we did a similar version of this presentation, but for the WMSD, that's Web and Mobile Software Development. So people that are doing more code, JavaScript, things of that nature. This session is for people that work in design and creatives, like myself. I'm also a graphic design freelancer. So if you're working in, graphic design, videography, animation, things of that nature, this will apply to you, and we'll go through a list later on. To introduce myself, if you don't know, my name is Will Simpson. I am an event manager here at Upwork, and we're fortunate to be joined today by Hilda Medrano from our Upwork coaching team. Thank you so much for joining us today, Hilda.
Thanks for having me, Will. Always love doing these.
Likewise. Now, today we're going to be focusing on what is the Upwork Skill Certification Program and what are the benefits associated of getting this badge, and then what does the evaluation process look like, and how can we really set ourselves up for success when our time comes for this. So to kick us off, what is the Upwork Skill Certification Program? Hilda, would you mind giving us just a high-level overview of what this program is and what it's all about?
Sure. So we know that, being certified brings in a certain skill can help you attract, more clients. It can help you build trust with those clients. So that's why this certification was developed to help you showcase that. It definitely looks good on your resume. On your profile. It definitely attracts more clients, and clients like to see that. So it was a way for us to help you stay, help you set yourself apart from other freelancers as an expert in your field. For design, like Will said, we have for several categories. This one that we're talking about today is for design and creative. It tests for an individual's, how competent you are in a current design best practices. So a panel of two or more experts in your area evaluates your portfolio. It's based on several dimensions. It depends upon your skill, whether it's animation, whether it's graphic design. The process is currently invite only. The account must be in good standing, of course, so not suspended, actively working on contracts. So again, it's another way that Upwork, another fantastic way that Upwork found to help out our freelancers who are trying to grow their business.
Absolutely. Now, let's take a look at some of the skills in this category. So this is a list of the current skill assessment categories available to us in the design and creatives. Now, on the other side of the coin, while the WMSD, the Web and Mobile Software Development, their list is of certification topics, focuses more on specific software and language programming types, and that seems to be a continually evolving list. Whereas on the creative side of things, it looks like it's geared more towards the deliverables. Are you doing an animation? Are you doing a still graphic? Are you doing videography? Things of that nature. So it seems like it provides us with a little bit more freedom to choose what tools we're leveraging to accomplish these various design elements when looking to approach the certification with Upwork. So I know working in the design field, there's many different ways to get a project done, and I'm swapping back between who knows how many programs to get any one of them done. So it's good to know that it seems to be a little bit program agnostic in the assessment and more just based upon what can you do. So pretty cool. Let's take a look at the benefits of the Upwork Skill Certification. Before we do, on the left-hand side, this is an example of what that badge looks like on your profile, visible to clients. Hilda, do you want to walk us through what these benefits look like?
Sure. So the main one, of course, is, like I mentioned earlier, is having that badge and showing clients that you are certified in a specific skill. There's a lot that the newly certified independent professionals, you'll receive a one-time bonus of 80 connects. Who doesn't love free connects, right? Like I said, the skill certified badge, it shows up under your certifications on your profile. Additional certification ribbon on the skill that you're certified comes up under your skills section. So if you will look down, I don't know if you've hopefully you guys have done search on, what other freelancers are doing and how it looks for others. You'll see on the skills, if they're certified in graphic design, there'll be a little indication, a little ribbon on top saying they're certified in that particular skill. You get priority for invitations to submit your proposals to jobs that are assisted by talent specialists. Don't know if any of you on with us have gotten an invitation from a talent specialist saying, hey, Will, I'm inviting you. I think you'd be great for this job. I'm inviting you to apply. So you would get priority on those types of invitations. You also get the option to apply for Talent Scout program. Again, another fantastic way that Upwork is trying to help other freelancers grow their business. What Talent Scout does, it matches the most highly skilled talent on Upwork with clients who are looking for the best of the best. These are exclusive roles with clients who want to work with the top independent professionals around. To take part of, you'll need to apply for it to be, and successfully pass the screening process. But again, you get, first dibs, the option to apply for that. We also create specific cohorts. So for any of you on that don't know what a cohort is, that is an online group in our community. It's called a cohort instead of a group because it starts and ends in a specific time. I don't know if any of you are currently on a cohort, but it'll be a 2-week where myself and one of the 3 other coaches that we have will really take a deep look on specific topics. It'll be whether you're in graphic design, we're helping you grow your portfolio. If it's a new business, we're helping you get started on Upwork, create your profile. If it's somebody that's already been on for quite a bit, then we're helping you grow that. What's next? You've already gotten a few projects under your belt. What can we do next? So those cohorts are created either category specific or stage specific, or sometimes it's just a cohort saying, come and ask me anything you'd like to ask, any questions that you have. So that is certainly helpful when it's either or, it's specific category or specific stage. A lot of the times we will create for newly skill certified freelancers, we will create that cohort saying, great, now you got your skill certification. That's awesome. Let's take it to the next level. Let's really market your profile. Let's really get you to really grow your business. So I think that's a fantastic perk that's been recently added this year.
Yeah, definitely. There was a good question related to this topic. Do we offer skill assessments in different areas other than design and creatives? And to my knowledge, correct me if I'm wrong here, Hilda, the only other sort of work category that has this Upwork Skill Certification availability is the WMSD, which is Web and Mobile Software Development. So people that are working in the coding space, is that correct?
Correct. Yeah. As of right now, those are the 2 areas that we have. We're hoping to grow that a little bit more, of course.
Yeah, definitely. It's a process to find, how to be fair and accurate in the assessments, and it's such a varying landscape.
Yeah.
So let me see here. So let's dive into the evaluation and process for preparation. So can you walk us through the process for attaining the certification badge? Because I know it's slightly different workflow than the WMSD folks.
Yeah, it is. So on this one, as I mentioned earlier, a panel of domain experts, 2 or 3 with expertise in your field, will review your portfolio. They want to see that, it demonstrates design best practices. It will be evaluated, your work based on the areas, of course, applicable to whatever skill you're being evaluated for. So creativity, and I'll go into a little bit more detail on those. Creativity, demonstrated technical tool aptitude, overall portfolio curation, recent and complex project work, layout, and information hierarchy. So let's start with creativity, for example, on the first one. So when we say creativity, is we want you to go really above and beyond when you're doing your portfolio. You want to really showcase that, again, you are skill certified, you're the best of the best, you can really get in there. You want to show your uniqueness. You want to show what can you do for the client that's a little bit different than what others might be able to do. Demonstrate technical tool aptitude. You want to explain what you did a little bit more. You want to show that you're familiar in whatever tool it is, whether it's for videography, graphic design, photography, whatever it may be. You want to really demonstrate that. What was the issue? How did you resolve it? The overall curation of the portfolio is, how do you present that? Your cover, everything from the cover photo of your portfolio item to the description. I see a lot of portfolios that the example looks great, and then there's nothing on the description. Not sure what was done. Maybe a little bit more of, what was the issue that the client had? How did you help? What was your role? Did you work with other departments? You want to give that client as much information as you can on your portfolio items. Recent and complex project work, I always say quality over quantity. You want to have the best of the best on your portfolio. You want to update it as much as you can. One tip that I often give freelancers in the cohorts, especially if I have them for, if they're trying to grow their business or trying to get skill certified, is make it to where you regularly look at your portfolio and put your recent best work. It could be every 3 months. It could be every 6 months. It could be the change of weather that you're like, oh, it's going from spring to summer now. So I'm going to go ahead and check my portfolio, remove everything that's, that's maybe not my best work. I've gotten better at doing this particular skill. So I'm going to add something brand new. That's always helpful, whether it's, like I said, however you want to remember. But I would say at least maybe twice a year, look at it, because you're constantly working and creating new work and learning a new skill or getting better at the ones you already know. So it's definitely good to keep it recent. And of course, the layout of it is important. You want to have a mixture of everything, every skill that you do, whether, let's just say you do animation, you also do graphic design and a little video editing, then you want to have examples of every single one. You want to have, if you do 2 and 3D animation, maybe have a little bit of both. If you do illustration, you want to have enough examples of the skills that you're presenting, especially the ones that you are wanting to be skill certified in.
Right. And I think this also highlights a good use of the specialized profiles. So I know that as freelancers on the platform, we have the ability to have our general profile, the first one you make. Mm-hmm. And that may be a good one to be inclusive of all of your skills. I know in my specific flavor of graphic design, I focus on sort of branding, brand identity. And then in my other segment, I focus on, excuse me, like PowerPoint deck creation. So sales pitches, investor presentations, things of that nature. And these two skill sets are vastly different, but in my generalized profile, I sort of highlight that. I also do video editing, all the flavors that I do, but my two specialized profiles, I use those to highlight and focus on my niche so that when I'm, applying for jobs that are specialized in that direction, it looks like I'm very focused on those because I am focused on those. So it's good to have sort of the general business card and then 2 separate business cards in the specialized profile.
Yeah. And I love that you touched on that, because one huge thing about, the Upwork Skill Certification is it's not just your portfolio that is being looked at. So the visibility needs to be, of course, set to public or Upwork users, because in order to be evaluated, not only your portfolio needs to be looked at, but it's also how you showcase your skills as far as your profile is being evaluated. Your past work history is checked on Upwork and off of Upwork if you're new. That's to make sure that the key skill that you offer services in, it is in your profile sections. For example, your title, skill tags, your portfolio overview. So your profile does have to be 100% complete in order for it, for your portfolio and your profile to be evaluated. If it's not complete, you can't be given one of those badges. If you're new for some reason and you want to know, how do I know if it's complete? When you log on to Upwork, on the right, it'll tell you underneath your picture, it tells you if you're at 40, 50, 90%. So you want to make sure that shows 100% on that. This just helps ensure that, you're presenting yourself professionally. All of your information is on there. So not only your portfolio is showing that you're certified in your skill or knowledgeable in your skill, but also your profile. Your identity has to be verified. This is just to help ensure that a professional, secure marketplace that everyone can trust is set in place. So you also want to, since we're reviewing your profile and your portfolio, your profile visibility, like I said earlier, is visible to everyone. If for some reason your profile is set to private because you haven't been applying, you can always contact support, either on the chat on the bottom when you log into Upwork, or support@upwork.com. Let them know, hey, I'm starting to apply again. Can you please reset my visibility? And they can certainly do that.
Great. Now, there's a good question that I wanted to loop in here, because it's a question that's come up a few times, and I didn't know the answer when I first saw it. It's from Anthony there. Are you able to tell whether job offers are coming from a client who has viewed your specialized profile versus your general profile? So I want to approach this from the technical understanding of the back end. if you go on the Upwork platform and you search for independent professionals, let's say I'm looking for a graphic designer. When I search for graphic designers, like I search Will Simpson, I will not show up on that search unless I have a specialized profile. Your general profile, the first one you make, that doesn't show up in manual searches. It'll show up, to the talent pairing folks, the Upwork people in the back end. But if a client is just looking to go find, hey, is there a graphic designer named Will Simpson? If I don't have my specialized profile of that, I will not show up. So with that understanding of the technical workflow, if a client is inviting you to their job, they've likely found you through that search function, which means it's looking at your specialized profile. It's a great question, Anthony, and a little bit complex of an answer, but I hope that got it for you. But it does highlight the importance of having those specialized profiles. You want people to find you, not just the Upwork pairing, professionals in various degrees. You want the clients to be able to find you. Just increases your odds of success, obviously.
Definitely.
All right, next up. So a big part of the whole review process is going to be focused on the portfolio, obviously, as we're in this sort of graphic design, sort of space, design and creative. So what are some of the portfolio requirements we should be aware of?
So 4 or more separate portfolio items, I often get asked, well, would 5 do? Would 6 do? Think about it this way. The more examples you give that client, and quality examples, quality over quantity, you'll hear me say that a few times, but I think you should always showcase your best work. So the more examples you have, the better. The more examples of your graphic design, your different animation, different styles. Sometimes it's your style, sometimes it's a client style. It'll be different ways that you're doing various things. So you do want to show as much as possible, but the rule of thumb is 4 or more separate portfolio items. That's a good thing, because I've seen where someone goes, well, I have one portfolio item and it's got 10 examples. Well, that's considered one. So every entry you do is one. So 4 separate portfolio items. They have to have, adequate information or content in your portfolio. Your portfolio must be made by you from scratch. So we don't have evaluation for CMS web design or certain other skills that use pre-designed elements. So just keep that in mind. You want it to be your design. You can still have examples of something that's pre-made if you wanted to, but keep that in mind that for the Upwork Skill Certification, it does have to be something that you made from scratch. I mentioned it earlier. You need to describe, your role, give information to the client on that, on the portfolio items, so that the team that's doing your evaluation can understand what you did on that project, and the client too. So what I mean by adding more information is consider adding information that's going to help the client and your evaluator better understand the work that you did. The general best practice is to explain the main task and deliverable, key features, how you tackle the project, the skills, tools, technologies that were used, maybe challenges that you solved for the client, goals you achieved, or any other important details that you think were something that you helped the client with. Remember, the clients come to you because you're the expert. So they want to see, on a similar situation, how did you tackle a project or an issue, or help develop a specific design or an animation or a video, working with perhaps different departments. So the more information you add about each item, the better, not only for the evaluation, but the better for clients, to attract more clients.
Yeah. Now, there's a variety of questions. I know I'm sort of sneaking some in before the Q&A session, but a lot of people are asking the same one. So I just wanted to pause here and address this prevailing question. So it asks in a variety of ways, how do we get the attention of the Upwork certification team, since it's invite only? Great question. I can't give you an exact coordinate sort of answer, but I can tell you the ingredients to increase your odds of being selected. Keep in mind, the Upwork certification team is not a very large team, and they are filtering through all of the Upwork independent professionals, finding those people, which is around the world, hundreds of thousands of people. So keep in mind that it's a process. But the way you can make sure you're getting towards that short list is, as Hilda mentioned earlier, your profile complete up to 100%. When you log into Upwork, I believe near the top right, below you, the circle of your image, there will be a percentage in green font. That needs to say 100%. If it doesn't say 100%, you'll never get that email. You want to make sure that you have skill tags associated to the category you're working in. I'm working in graphic design. If my skill tags say translator and JavaScript writer, I probably won't make the list because that's not a design and creative skill tag. I need Adobe Photoshop, I need Illustrator, I need Blender, whatever programs you're using. So making sure there's consistency. Use the breadth of your skill tags, whether or not you're focusing on that work. It's letting the people know that, hey, I have these different abilities in this category. It's showing that you are immersed in this zone. And I imagine it doesn't hurt also to have clients in that same space with specialized profiles. I could be an accountant and a graphic designer on the platform. And if all my work is on the accounting side, but I still say I'm a graphic designer, I'm not saying that would preclude me from being on there, but it wouldn't really demonstrate to someone who's trying to cherry pick and get people certified that I bathe myself in this industry. So I know these are not precise answers for you, and I can't give you more precise than that, I'm sorry. But these are the things you'll want to do to set yourself up. Hilda, were there any that I missed that came to your mind on that, just maximizing your potential? Oh, obviously, sorry, the portfolio items we mentioned, having at least 5 on there separate, not like carousel in one, having those 5 items in there. Any other pieces that come to mind?
Yeah. No, I mean, I think you covered it. I know we touched on it earlier, but if I had to say, just think about it, just you want to set yourself up to be highly marketable. That means you want your profile to look great, your portfolio. If you feel, well, Hilda, I still need a little help. I'm not really sure. Does mine look good? I'm not really. There's always the Academy. You can go to Upwork on the top menu. It says Academy. Go to coaching. We have constant cohorts starting with, they'll say something like getting started on Upwork. That means you're kind of new or you're back, from being gone for a while and you want to get started up again. You can join those cohorts. There's another one that will be starting in 2 weeks. That's called Growing Your Business. Again, you can jump on those and ask for a portfolio review. You can ask for a profile review. You can schedule a one-on-one. You can attend and ask me anything. So there is help to help you if you think you're not looking at your best. But like Will said, if you want to attract not only clients, we all do, of course, but the evaluation process is you want to make sure your profile looks great and your portfolio looks great.
And one more thing that came to mind on the previous slide, we had a note that your profile visibility needs to be set accordingly. And that was a good question here in the chat. I'm about to drop a link in the chat. This is a support article on your profile visibility. You may have set it to private years ago and not remembered, and you'll never hit the radar if it's set to private. So check out that link in the chat there. Make sure your profile visibility is set accordingly, or else you might be invisible and not know it. So I move to the next slide here. What did we already cover these points, Hilda?
Not really. I think these are a little bit more specific. So it just goes a little bit more into the specific skill you're being certified in. So for brand identity, you'll be evaluated only if you provide a full branding design package and overall visible brand elements. So again, if that's the skill certification you're going for, then you want to make sure that you provide these. For video portfolio items, the videos need to be embedded wherever possible. Again, you want your best quality of work. For skills relating to art direction and creative direction, we require descriptions of leading, guiding, directing work, agency, team project for static design. So again, that goes into the details of the portfolio items. So this could be on your profile, or it could be part of your portfolio items as well.
Cool.
And one thing that I wanted to touch on is if you are an expert in more than one skill at this time, you can only be certified for only one skill at this moment. So we recommend that you decide which one do I want to be evaluated on before you submit the application. When they reach out to you to invite you, consider which one you want to be certified on. We wish we can give it to you for all of them, but at the moment, like Will said, the team is not that big, and we have so many thousands of amazing, freelancers all over the world. We can see from the chat, we have from, US, Ecuador, Iran, from all over the place. So, we do want to eventually be able to give more than one skill certification, but at the moment it is just one.
Yeah. And a timely question that I'm just going to rope in here. What happens if I don't get certified after the evaluation? Am I correct that it's the same as on the WMSD side? Whereas if the evaluator reaches out to me and says, "Hey, Will, would you like to go ahead and go for it?" And I say, "Yeah, let's go for it." And it turns out I was not ready. I didn't have enough portfolio items, whatever the case may be. Then if I did not pass that evaluation, then I have to wait 6 months before I have the opportunity to try again. Is that accurate?
That's correct. Yeah. Yeah. At the moment, it's exactly the same process.
And you may not know the question to this off the top of your head, but how are those invitations delivered? Is that in the in-program messaging, or is that via email? I know that it's moved around a little bit over the past few years, so I don't actually have current knowledge on that. Do you?
Unless it's changed, I believe it's via email that you get.
Okay.
Whatever email you use for your Upwork account is how you will receive.
Then that would help me answer a question from one of our attendees here that was saying, "Hey, I got an invite a few years ago and I wasn't ready, so I just didn't respond, and the link has since timed out." I would hope that they would then be able to respond to that email and get routed back to that team and say, "Hey, I'm ready now. I was on the list." Do you feel like that's a fair assessment?
Yeah, I think it would be. And depending on, where the team is at, if they've already invited quite a few, at least you can get back into, in their radar. So,
yeah. Perfect. Thank you. So let's get into scoring of the work. This is not as black and white as it is on the WMSD side. On the WMSD side, there's a variety of tests, and if you either can do the coding or can't do the coding within the time, there's a scoring process there. So this one's a little bit different. So what does this look like for us, Hilda?
So the evaluators score your work samples on each of the dimensions below. Of course, not all are applicable depending on what skill you're wanting to be certified in. So they're skipped if it doesn't apply. But design and creative, and it's applicable for all areas. Evaluators are looking for, like I mentioned earlier, creativity. What do we mean by that? When it comes to creativity, you want to really aim to showcase your range in this area. Remember that you want to showcase your best work. So consider avoiding having the quantity over quality. It's better to have, say, 8 items that are stellar, your best work, versus having 30 and only maybe 3 or 4 are your best work. So the next one is, of course, demonstrating technical tool aptitude. You want to demonstrate your mastery and understanding of, the tool feature sets, current modern tool sets used in the line with current industry standards, of course. The next one is your overall portfolio curation. I talked about it a little bit earlier. So again, quality items, the level of attention to detail, the amount of information within the item itself. So for example, having a clear title that describes what the work was, consider multiple relevant files whenever it's appropriate, adding information to help the client better understand the work that was done. I mentioned earlier what, the ideas on that, how you tackled the project, what was achieved, that sort of thing. So you want to have enough information for that. Recent and complex project work. So again, you want to maintain your profile up to date. You can move your portfolio items. I had a couple of freelancers ask me last week, and I was like, I didn't know they didn't know this. So just in case you don't, it's okay. I didn't know when I first started. You can move your portfolio items around. So let's just say you're adding stuff and you're like, that one from the 3rd page is awesome. You can go and edit them and move them around however you see fit. So you can move them in order of, what you want the clients to see first. But you do want to have your recent work. And the layout and information, like I mentioned earlier, you want to have the best work showcased first for your clients. I've seen some where they want to be specialized in graphic design. They do a little bit of animation, but not so much. And they have all their first 6 items are graphic design, and then it goes into animation. I have other freelancers that say, well, I want to showcase all of it. I'm proud of all my work. So they'll have animation, graphic design, videography. Then the next page, because it's 3 that show on your portfolio, they'll have the same mixture. So it's up to you how you want to curate that. But you do want to have enough examples and clearly lay out what it is that you did on this project. If you don't have information, the client's just kind of guessing what role did they have in this project.
It's an important thing to call out, and it's something that understanding my own profile and setup. When I first started and I was uploading portfolio items, and let's say I made a new logo for a client, I'd simply take the file, slap it in the profile or in the profile on Upwork, hit save, and go about my day. That was it.
Yeah.
I evolved this a few times. My first evolution, I learned by actually looking at other freelancers on the platform that were crushing it in my category. I went through and searched, which we'll get into at the end, maybe in the Q&A, how to do that search if you're not familiar. But I looked at some people in my space that were just crushing it where I wanted to be. And I looked at the way that they presented their portfolio items. So the first thing I noticed was, instead of just, let's say it's a PNG file, instead of just like uploading the PNG and saying, have a good day, they were incorporating their images. Let's just use a logo as an example. They were incorporating the logo into a lifestyle image, meaning they'd take a stock image, like a stock image of a person at a computer working, and they'd Photoshop their design element into the scene, into the actual computer screen. So it looked like it was a picture of the person working on the project. I know it sounds chintzy or whatever you may think, but wow, does it make a huge difference. If you design business cards, instead of just putting the flat business card thing, get a stock image where there's a few business cards stacked up and one in front leaning down, you can show it. Oh my gosh, it makes a massive difference from a client side. Think about this from the client side. They're overwhelmed with opportunities of who to select. And when they're going through things, the fewer points you're asking them to connect, like giving them a flat image and trying to make them think, what does this look like when I hand it out? If you actually show the image of what it looked like, it relates with the client a lot better. It also shows a level of professionalism and understanding that not only can I do the business card or the logo, but I also know how to photo manipulate, photo edit. So it's showcasing more abilities, an understanding of an overall presentation aesthetic, which is just vastly more mature than slapping up the image there. And that was my first big aha moment when it came to portfolio items. The second one is what you were talking about in making sure you have a description. And I'm still not very good with that one. If you find my portfolio items, you'd be like, but Will doesn't do this. I know. Do what I say, not what I do. However, luckily, most of my business is on repeat now, so I'm in a fortunate spot. But anyway, on the description side, it's not just, hey, I used Illustrator and Photoshop to make this file. It's tell a little bit of a story, make it digestible, don't make it a novel, but a short story. Client was looking for a logo, had no idea what they wanted. Provided a few examples, identified the style, identified the brand sort of direction and color schemes, mocked up at 3 examples, revised, good to go. Things of that nature. Or, hey, I worked with their marketing team and looked at various resources and competitors in the space. Marketing team wanted me to stay in alignment with this branding guideline. These are important factors. This tells a story. This means if the story you described there is similar to what I'm looking for, oh, I have a marketing department I'll need you to work with. I know that you know how. I know that you know how to stay within a branding guideline. I know that you know how to creatively come up, whatever the case may be, tell that story. It's all well and good to make a nice picture, to simplify it overly, but the how you got from A to B, how you pulled the information out of the client's mind on what they were actually looking for. Oftentimes, I know a lot of us can resonate with the fact that describing visually engaging pieces is not usually our client's strength, hence why they're coming to us. The best example I have is one of my clients asking for a revision round on one of the projects, said it needs to be more something, and this is a long-term client friend of mine, and I'm just like, deep breath, I'm like, more something is not a descriptor. That's not a word. I'm like, it could be more blue, it can be more sad, it can be more snappy, it can't be more something. So all that to say, describing how you pulled the pieces of information, like using that story, more a joke, but using that story to define how I came up with a good looking asset is good, because a lot of people are in that situation where I don't know how to describe my work, or that I'm looking for. So sorry, a little bit of a tangent there, but it's a major way to level up your portfolio items, which were not innately obvious to me, and hopefully provided a bit of light for you as well. Moving on here. So let's take a look at the specific evaluation for some of these sections, because naturally there's going to be different criteria for assessing still shots like logos as compared to videography and animation. So can you speak to some of the specifics in the animation and motion graphics assessment?
Sure. So, for example, for motion graphics and animation, like Will said, the use of audio is a good one. You want it to be well edited, good sound quality. For animation, of course, you want to use good graphics, motion graphics when applicable. Your pace, you want to make sure that it's not going a little too fast for clients. You're giving them enough ample time to do that. I've seen that in a few, animation, either motion animation or motion graphic videos or reels, that it'll be really fast because they want to get in as much information as possible, especially when they're trying to do 3 or 4 items into one. So it's always easier to do one. I remember being confused going, that was way too fast for me. The pace was too fast. Remember, you're the one who's in graphic design. So you could probably see something super fast and know exactly what it is, but clients won't be, or an evaluator won't be as well. Meaningful motion, of course, and your demo reels. So you want them to be more like a trailer than a collection of content. Like I said earlier, not having a whole bunch of different samples into one. You want it to be more like a little trailer, a little preview of what you can do. You want to explore various animation styles, of course, and techniques. You want to be sure that goes into the creativity. You want to be sure that you are being creative with how you're presenting it and showing different areas, not so much the same type of, say, animation that you do 4 or 5 different times, maybe once or twice, and then go into a different style, just to really show that your range of knowledge and expertise in a particular area.
Yeah, there's a good question here from the general chat. I think it's asking, Alicia is asking, can we include things in our portfolio which were not created via Upwork contracts? Like if I had a personal connection with a previous business associate and I designed a whole new brand identity for them, can I leverage that on my Upwork portfolio?
Yeah, you certainly can. Your Upwork portfolio can be, it needs to be examples of your work. It does not have to be work on Upwork. So it's really important. It could be from a past client. It could be a project that you did. Maybe when you were in school, you created these amazing samples and projects of what you did. You can include those on there. It does not have to be a client. As long as it's, of course, your work that you completed, it does not have to be from an Upwork client. It could be, maybe you don't have an example of a specific skill that you really do, or you do have one, but it's so old that it's not your best work. You can create one. I've seen, especially videographers, animation, they want to show a different style. Maybe on the weekend they were creating something and they love the way it came out. Photography is a big one as well. So you can definitely show examples of work you've done for clients on Upwork, clients off of Upwork, personal projects, just something that you wanted to show what you can do.
That's good. Yeah, it reminds me of when I first started off, all of my graphic design work when I first joined Upwork was specific to one client that I've been working for, which didn't really show a breadth of creativity. Yeah. It was all, branded one direction. So instead I was trying to get more into the creative ones. So I decided to make a coffee shop logo and menu. This coffee shop doesn't exist. This coffee shop never hired me. And I said so in the description. I said, look, this was not for a client. This is just purely to show you what I can create. And here's the programs I used and the logic I approached it with. But it enabled me to augment my portfolio, even though I hadn't had the clients yet, to just say, hey, here's what I can do. And I think that especially in the design and creative, this is one of those situations where we're very fortunate in the fact that the things that we create, it's so easy to share. It's an image, it's a video, it's an animation. They're things that people can quantify just by looking at. If you work in accounting, you may have to do an infographic or a spreadsheet, which is a little bit less easy to impart how awesome you are at what you do. But if you're really good at making pictures, make an awesome picture. So I thought that was really helpful when I was first starting out. So next, let's look at some of the specifics for the evaluation of videography category. What are we looking at here?
So for videography evaluators are looking for strong camera skills and shot composition. So video clips that are clearly cut to the music in a purposeful way within 2 minutes max. Of course, for video editing and post-production skills, strong editing skills with emphasis on storytelling, great shot selection in regards to the story, great pacing and timing, strategic use of transitions, an overall sense of story that keeps the viewer's attention, and the length of the video isn't too long for the topic, but it's just long enough to showcase your expertise. So, and in addition to scoring your individual work samples, the evaluators are going to evaluate the quality of your overall portfolio. I always say that because If you have just a video or two and maybe, a couple of other items that are not so great, or maybe you're thinking I have enough. I have 2 videos that are, 2-3 minutes in length. Just keep in mind that it's going to be your entire portfolio. So you want to make sure this applies to everything else that you have in there.
I will say that this event so far has reminded me very loudly that I need to go through and thin out my old profile or portfolio items. It's
fall is coming. Fall is
I
coming.
will admit, my first step was get used to every quarter update all the work I've been doing, because I was so busy with projects that I would just do them and be focused on like getting clients and doing the work that I neglected my portfolio and my profile for that matter. So I got in the habit. I set a reminder, in the beginning of each quarter, update with what you did last quarter. But I haven't done the clear out the old stuff. And when I look at some of the really old stuff, I'm like, oh no.
Yeah.
Which I think if I think about this in a positive sense, that's actually a good sign. If I looked at my old work and I was like, hey, you rock, then that doesn't show growth.
Yeah, true. You didn't evolve. You didn't change. There's always something to learn, right? We're always learning and evolving. So yeah, it should showcase that.
So in regards to preparing for this, now obviously this is as we said, it's an invite-only program. It's a little bit of a sort of a lottery system to get selected, but we can make sure that we're doing some of the basic ingredients to make sure that, one, we're ready for it when it shows up, and 2, we look attractive when they're doing these selection processes. So what can we do to prepare?
Yeah, so I think everybody's seen a repetitive theme of what we're saying is you want to make sure that your portfolio is updated. It includes information on your roles, the deliverable for each item. As your skills improve, like we just touched on, consider retiring those old portfolio items. If you're still, there might be some work that you've done a couple years ago that you're like, I'm still proud of it. Still looks pretty good. Think about it. Can you touch it up a little bit, or maybe add a description? Maybe you have a portfolio item from last year that it still looks pretty good, but I didn't put enough information. It's not or clearly or creatively presented. Maybe it's like Will said, it's a business card and it's just a picture of the business card. What if you were to get a stock photo of a hand with the actual business card? It's a creative way to present it, right? So there's always maybe something you can spruce it up or add more information, but you do want to have your best work and evaluate that as you grow. You want to ensure your skill tags are up to date. As you upskill, of course, throughout the year, some of that may change, or maybe when you started, you were focusing on different types of design, and now you're really focusing on only 2D animation, or maybe you're just doing a lot of video graphics, or you're doing a lot of reels for social media. You want to make sure that you also look at your skills. That's one thing that I see freelancers often forgetting. We set up a profile and we'll leave it. I am guilty. I'm going to throw myself under the bus. 6 months ago, I don't know what I was doing. And I'm like, I wonder, did I do that in my profile? I don't know what it was. I was reviewing a profile for a freelancer, and I went to go look at I'm like, oh my God, my skills. I'm like, why do I have this? Why did I even put that in there? I totally forgot to do that. So once a year, I already set a reminder. Once a year, I'm going to look at my profile. Anything change that I want to kind of, spruce up, or maybe I learned a new skill, or started doing something, different type of projects, or working with different clients that I want to kind of mention in my overview. So your skill tags, you want to make sure that you go through them, and that's reflective of what you're showing in your portfolio, in your overview, and just the overall work that you're offering clients, that's up to date. And of course, ensure that your account remains in good standing, good active standing, no suspensions, no anything like that. So just remember, I think rule of thumb is that your portfolio is the sole source of your results. It includes the quality of your work. It includes a description of what it is that you do. So before evaluation, think about the dimensions that are evaluated that we just mentioned in this presentation, and how you're representing your work with your portfolio items. Are you represented in the best way to showcase your expertise? Are there details about the technical challenges with a particular project that you have on your portfolio, and how you overcame them? Did you describe that? Is there any specific metrics or results that you can share about the project achievements? Will mentioned earlier, did you work with a specific department? Did the client just come to you and said, look, I'm not really sure what kind of design we're looking for, but we want it to be, modern and include certain types of blues. That was, and you show the completed item. That's a huge creative, check for you. A lot of clients do that. I've seen it. I've done recruiting for clients that say, find me a graphic designer. I need a new logo. Just need it to be shades of green and modern. Okay. So that's not a lot to go by. I'm sure a lot of you are going, yep, I've had that happen. I've had that happen. Yeah. That's really creative, where you really had to work with that client and be like, let me show you some examples. To you, what is modern? This is okay. What shades of green? What are we looking for? What does the website look like? What's your type of business that you're into? So it does take a little bit of you kind of probing and asking questions of, what do you mean by modern? Or what do you mean by classic? You really do have to ask those questions.
Yeah. And so while we have some of these tips up, a lot of these are the ones that we've been diving into. So while these are up, I'm going to go ahead and look at some of the Q&A to bring out, unless you want to speak more to some of these points, but I feel like we've dove into.
Yeah, I think we've kind of drilled them in, but yeah. So
no worries. There's something that I wanted to a few things I wanted to dial in on. So we mentioned previously in this event, a really good practice, not only when you're trying to find out how should I set up my profile, how to display and describe my portfolio items. The number one way I can recommend for inspiration is to look at what your peers and your betters are doing. No matter how good you are at something, there is always someone somewhere that is better than you are. And that's great. That's a good thing. It gives you an example of success that you can reach for. I don't view that as a negative thing at all. On the Upwork platform, you're logged into Upwork. In the top, I think they moved it sort of towards the top right, there is a search field. Now, by default, as a freelancer, if you search, it will look for jobs. However, if you click the little downward facing arrow, the drop-down menu, there's three options, I believe. One of them is talent. So click talent and then just hit enter with nothing in the search bar, and it will take you to a new page. On the left-hand side of the page will be filters. The filters are things like, what category do they work in? So do design and creative, and then drill it down further. For me, I do graphic design, branding, things of that nature. And then below that, additional filters. I want their job success score to be 90 or above. I want their client rating to be 5 stars or above. And I want to make sure they've made at least $50,000 on the platform. These are some of the thresholds that I will set, meaning that the resulting freelancers that it shows me, these people are succeeding. Their clients love them, what they do. They're making money on the platform. They're obviously doing it right. And so with that, I will use this for a variety of purposes. And I still do this today, periodically. I would say maybe once, twice a year. I do this when I'm looking to change my rate. If I don't know what my rate should be, I look at what's out there and I look at people's portfolio items. I say, oh, I could do that. I should try charging what they're charging because it's $10 higher than what I'm charging. And I'm seeing that consistently over a few different profiles. Or I can say, ooh, I don't know if I can do it that well. Make sure I'm not billing too high, or maybe that's a good benchmark to be aiming for. But as it relates to sort of the skills assessment, I take a look at these people, how they display their portfolio items, how they describe their projects, and how they describe themselves in their overview. There's no reason to reinvent the wheel if you don't have to. Now, I would never say copy and paste what someone else is doing. What works for one person does not automatically translate to working for another person, but it can give you inspiration. Like I mentioned, I used to just slap the image file up there in the portfolio, then I photoshopped it into a lifestyle scene. And now my next step, which I'm guilty of, is to go fill out the description. These are the things that you learn by looking at other folks. So it's important to be able to know how to find those other people. Now, another topic that's come up, which is slightly off topic to the presentation, but I think very pertinent, is we were talking about A/B testing, specifically in its association to proposals. Now, I will just preface this by saying, if platform is sending out a lot of proposals, not getting a lot of invites, don't worry. That doesn't mean you're doing it wrong. It is a process. Until you get a good job success score, until you have a few 5-star client reviews, you're going to be swimming upstream a little bit. Once you have those, it gets a lot easier, I promise you. But a good way to get those in the door is A/B testing. So A/B testing means you can use a framework. Don't just copy and paste the same proposal. It never works. Everyone knows it can. But the cliff notes of it is my framework is my My model A will be 3 paragraphs. Hello, client, I understand your project. This is why I'm a good fit. And then the third one, just a general about me. And then B may be similar information, but 4 paragraphs and arranged a little bit differently. I send 5 proposals out with A. I send 5 proposals out with B. If I get 4 responses on A and none on B, that tells me that I'm in the right direction. I scrap B and I take A and I make a new version of B. I reorder the paragraphs, whatever. I do the same test. After about 4 rounds of this, you have a clear winner. It's a way to find your voice, but your voice the way the clients need to hear it, the amount of information, the delivery of the information. This process drastically changed my experience on the platform. So you can Google resources for it. You can check out some of the previously recorded events. I'll pop some links here in the chat. The pre-recorded or the events recorded from previous times. This is a link I'm dropping in the chat right now. But that A/B testing was vital to my success, and I'm not unique in that. It is very difficult when first starting out to find your voice and to grab the client's attention when you don't have those stats to lean against. But hang in there. I promise you it's worth it. So let me see if I can jump into some of the questions here. I know I grabbed quite a few good ones during the presentation, but let me see. Oh, Hilda, you might know the answer to this. There's a couple folks wondering if they can sort of link to their Behance, sorry if I butchered that pronunciation, I've only ever seen it written, web page and embedding straight to Upwork portfolio. I'm going to hazard to say that linking to your external profile is not a good idea because it's engaging in potential communication channels external to Upwork. Is that correct?
Correct. It's if you wanted to share your portfolio, you can share it, but or a Beehive portfolio or an external portfolio. Usually the external ones have a way for the client to contact you, which giving a client a direct way to contact you is a violation of our terms of services. You can, however, share it in your proposal. So you want to have your examples, that you're going to share with the client, ready. But if you wanted, and what I mean by that, let me backtrack a little bit. You want to have specific examples that you show to the client as opposed to here's my portfolio. So now I, the client, have to go look at 30, 40, 50 things to try to find animation ones. It's a lot easier and more, I would say, a little touch of professionalism to say, hey, well, here are 3 examples of animation similar to what you're looking for, or video editing similar to what you're looking for, versus here's my entire Beehive portfolio, or here's my entire portfolio. But if you did want to share that, you can in your proposals. It cannot be in your profile overview because, again, that's a direct way for the client to contact you outside of Upwork, and that's a violation of terms of services. I've been asked, well, how come I can't share it in my overview, but I can share my proposals? Because we keep copies of all the proposals. So if for some reason that proposal that you send out, the client replies back, great, let's chat. Here's my personal email or my cell phone. That's going to be flagged because now you're in violation of terms of services. You are taking the conversation outside of Upwork. So in proposals, you can share it because we already have track that you started talking to that client. When it's in your overview, there's no way for Upwork to track that. They can just click it, contact you, take it outside of Upwork, which again, it's a violation of terms of services. So if you wanted to share it, you can share it in your proposals. My recommendation would be to share specific examples versus your entire portfolio.
That's I was thinking the same thing, is to pick a few winners in the various categories and actually just upload them into Upwork portfolio. It's the least possible friction sort of pathway. And a good question from Andre. Can clients see all of our work profiles, or is it just a specialized profile? So let me clarify, and you can actually test this. You know how we mentioned a minute ago how you can search for other freelancers on the platform, talent, as it's referred to in the top right search, talent. And you click on someone, it will send you directly to their specialized profile. Remember, the only ones that show up in the search are your specialized profile, not your general. However, once I've clicked on the person, let's say I found Will Simpson, I clicked on Will Simpson, it's going to send me to my specialized profile. However, on the left-hand side, you can see all the different profiles. You can see the general, and you can see my other specialized profile, and you can click between them. And all of my portfolio items are displayed. And Hilda, correct me if I'm wrong here, but even if let's say I uploaded my portfolio items to my general profile, those still show up on my specialized profile, right? They're not separated portfolios.
Correct. You can separate them if you wanted to. So your general or I think it says all work, but your general or all work profile will have all your items. But then if you create a specialized profile for animation, you can select which of those items from your all work go into your animation specialized, or which ones go to your videography specialized profile. So yeah, you can separate them, but everything that you upload will go into your all work, and the client can look at any of the specialized, two specialized, or go to all work and then see all your work for both, areas that you're having a specialized profile for.
Let's see if we got a few other questions here. There was one specifically where Vincentis, they made a job that's in Portuguese language because it's a Brazilian client. Do I have to translate all my assets? I would say no. I would say leaving it as the client wanted it is a strength. Now I'd put a big asterisk on that. Let's say that I work in Spain and the majority of my clients are Spanish, so the majority of what I produce is Spanish. If I am then trying to break into English speaking markets, let's say I'm trying to do work in London, England for clients there, it might be a good idea to translate a few pieces if I'm trying to specifically shift gears into that. But I mean, if I'm a Portuguese client and I'm looking for something in Portuguese, I'd want to see it in Portuguese. So I think it really depends on the clients you're going for. If you're sort of open to all invitations, it might not be a bad idea to have both versions of it so that people can see that, hey, you understand and you're flexible and you have the ability to do so. It's sort of in alignment with what I said of just putting the image in your portfolio versus putting it into a Photoshopped scene. It's showing versatility and some of your additional skill sets, which maybe not innately a part of what you're offering. You're not offering translation as a service, but you have the capability and understanding and awareness. Might not be a bad idea. Again, everyone has their own business and the way they're doing it, but just my 2 cents on that. Let me see here. What if you have more skill sets than one specialized portfolio would encompass? Good news, Elena, you can do 2 specialized profiles. So that's a total of 3 profiles. Your general one, which you make when you make your account, and 2 specialized. So I have my general, which is graphic design, video editing, still, decks, whatever. Then I have my 2 specialized, one for brand identity, logos, corporate brand guides. And then my other specialized one is purely for deck building, presentation decks. So 3 total. So you actually have quite a lot of versatility in what you're doing. So feel free to do that. Now, coming back to one thing we mentioned earlier, housekeeping, clearing out the stuff you no longer want to do that's no longer pertinent. On your general profile, when I first made mine, I listed a million different things I could do. And as I got into freelancing and understanding, okay, yes, I can do that, but boy, I don't like doing it. I started removing those from my forward-facing materials, and that really helped me niche down there just organically. But it's a good idea to get rid of your old tags, because you may notice that sometimes you get an invite from a talent specialist and saying, hey, Will, would you like to do this job? And it's not really something that you want to do. It may be related to some of your previous stuff when you were a little bit spread out on what you were doing. So the more targeted you keep your profiles and your work history and things like that, the more on target those invites should be. All right. Now, folks, we're running shy on time here. I'm going to drop a few more links, which I've dropped a few times here in the chat. They're very important. So in the general chat here, this first link, this is for the community, Upwork community page. This is where you can see what events are upcoming, what events have already happened, and watch recordings. This is an incredible asset. There's talent toolbox series like this where we deep dive into writing winning proposals, taking a look at examples of good proposals and proposals that need a bit of love. We talk to experts that are just titans in their industry, and they teach us success and motivational aspects. A wealth of resources. Please bookmark that site. And then another one here is the Academy. The Academy is a relatively new thing in the community where it has some really good intro to the platform trainings, like how to get the ball rolling on your profile, your portfolio, communications with clients. It also, if I'm not mistaken, has the links to the different cohorts, which Hilda, you mentioned earlier. There are, correct me if I'm wrong here, but there are a variety of cohorts happening at any time on a variety of subjects. These are free programs. I'll say it again. These are free programs where you get access to experts like Hilda, where let's say this cohort's on writing proposals, just throwing out an example. You can actually have some interactive dialogue in a smaller group setting. We can say, hey, I'm sending out this proposal. I'm not getting any love. What can I do? And we can dissect it together. We can take a look and find a way to move forward and help. So take a good a look at these references. They're very helpful. Let me drop the camera there too. Perfect. All right. Well, Hilda, thank you so much for joining us. I really appreciate you taking the time, sharing your wisdom with us, and I know the attendees did here as well. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. Have a great rest of the week, and we look forward to seeing you all next time.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.